Well, welcome back. Welcome back to continuing the discussion with Genesis 24. Genesis 24 is one of the most beautiful and detailed chapters in the book of Genesis. And it's long for a reason. It slows down the pace and asks us to notice something we often miss in life: God at work in the details. This chapter isn't about a battle or a miracle. It's about a journey, a prayer, a young woman at a well. But in those ordinary things, something sacred is unfolding. So let's talk about it. Here's the first reflection. What does this chapter teach me about seeking God's guidance through prayer and action? How do I stay open to God leading in the ordinary parts of life? Well, the story opens with Abraham, now old, knowing that the covenant promise must continue through his son Isaac. But Isaac doesn't have a wife yet, so Abraham sends his most trusted servant back to his homeland to find one. Not just anyone, but someone who will be a part of the promise. And the servant goes. But what's striking is that he doesn't go with a list of demands. He goes with a prayer. He says, "Lord, make me successful today. Let the woman who offers water to me and my camels be the one you have chosen." He doesn't just make a decision and ask God to bless it. He brings the decision into prayer from the beginning. He asks for guidance, he asks for confirmation, and then he pays attention. That's something I think we can learn from. Too often we rush ahead, make the choice, and then say, "God, please make this work." But here, the servant shows us a different pattern. First pray, act with faith, watch for God to move. And God does. Before the servant even finishes his prayer, Rebekah appears. And not only does she offer him water, she offers water to 10 camels. That's a big deal. Camels drink a lot. This wasn't a casual gesture. It was an act of generosity, hospitality, and strength. God answered clearly and quickly, but only because the servant asked and watched. So let me ask you this. Are there places in your life right now where you need to slow down and invite God into the decision before you take another step? Is there something you've been trying to solve on your own, where God is saying, "Let me lead you in this"? Now, here's the second question we're sitting with. How does Rebekah's story help me think about what it means to say yes to God's purpose, even when the path isn't fully clear? Now, Rebekah's yes is remarkable. Think about her situation. A stranger shows up with a caravan of camels and jewelry and a story about how God has led him to her, and he's asking her to leave everything she knows, her family, her home, her country, and marry a man she's never met. And she says yes. Without hesitation, she responds, "I will go." Now, that's not just courage. That's trust in something bigger than her own comfort. She hears the story, senses the truth in it, and says yes to being a part of God's unfolding promise. That moment invites us all to ask, how do I respond when God calls me into something new, something I didn't expect, something I don't fully understand? Because let's be honest, obedience often doesn't come with a full map. Sometimes it's just the next step. And like Rebekah, we're asked to say, "Yes, I'll go," even when we don't know how the story ends. But here's what's beautiful. Her yes becomes a part of something eternal. Because of that one step of trust, she becomes the wife of Isaac, the mother of Jacob, and part of the lineage that leads itself to Jesus himself. And that's the point. God does amazing things through ordinary faithfulness. There's one more moment I want us to slow down to see. Toward the end of the chapter, Isaac finally appears, and it says he went out to meditate in the field. That word meditate in Hebrew carries a sense of quiet reflection, maybe even prayer. Isaac is in the field, possibly grieving the loss of his mother, maybe thinking about his future, and here comes the caravan. Here comes Rebekah. When she sees him, she asks, "Who is that man?" And when the servant tells her, "That's him," she gets down from her camel. There's a beautiful, silent, sacred meeting. No long speeches, no dramatic introductions, just two people stepping into the next chapter of a story that began long before either of them was born. And the chapter ends with this quiet but powerful line. Isaac married Rebekah, and he loved her, and he was comforted after his mother's death. That's legacy, that's promise, that's healing, and it all came from prayer, obedience, and yes, and a yes. And so as we reflect on Genesis 24, here's what I want to leave you with. Don't rush ahead. Invite God into your decisions before you make them. Watch closely. God is often answering while we're still praying. Say yes when he calls, even if you don't know the whole path. Trust that even small acts of obedience can lead to a much bigger story. You might not always get a lightning bolt or a burning bush, but you'll get camels, wells, quiet prayers, and divine appointments in ordinary places. And if you're paying attention, you'll see that God has been writing the story all along. Thanks for walking with me today.